so I have the great privilege of introducing and bringing up a friend of mine, Uncle Wilfred G. Gooden, who has made a difference in American hero, Congressman Rangel. Hasn't had a bad day yet.
You know, this is a very moving evening for me, especially after listening to the State of the Union address that Stokes just gave. I intended just to give a wave, but Lou, you have to remember this. You know? These are the kind of discussions that we had when nobody was here. You see, when the 9 of you were together, there was a guy named Adam Clayton Powell that was a part of that group. And for us in New York, we didn't know there was anybody else out here that says that. So Ron Dellums, Mary Mitchell, Walter Woodward, and I came and saw you people wandering in the wilderness. It was the 13 of us, not the 9, that formed the Congressional Black Caucus. But being 80 years myself, I can understand what happens with those that were there even before me. Lou's my brother. We had such exciting times. We can't share with you the difficulty that it was for 13 Indian chiefs that came to Congress the hard way. Most of us came from families that had never been to college. Most of us were the first that had attended college in our families. And we knew that there was no place for egos among the 13 of us. And it was Bill Clay who gave us a sense of what every piece of legislation would be. And that is that even though today it's not popular to talk about the poor, as our speaker would say, we talk about not only the middle class, but now we describe them as those who aspire to be the middle class. But there's one thing we knew as the caucus is that it depended on the bill to see what friends we had. But in the caucus, the Black Caucus, we said, it's not just friends today or friends tomorrow. That we had no permanent friends, we had no permanent enemies, but we had a permanent interest because you could just look at census tract and you got your Congressional Black Caucus. And in this country, it shouldn't be that way. It's unfortunate and tragic that if you look at the national unemployment figures, you double that and you got the Congressional Black Caucus. If you look at the dropouts, if you look at the lack of opportunity, if you look at those who enlist in the military because they don't feel that they can survive in the economic environment that we have. And so that is why we're not like other caucuses or all other organizations. This Black Caucus that we saw in such a short time as a result of the Voting Rights Act, and John Lewis, I have to admit, when I was marching, which I was cussing because it didn't make a lot of sense for me from New York with my bad feet to be marching 54 miles. I had no idea that your agreement, Dr. Martin Luther King, could mean the Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act, and that this would explode the Congressional Black Caucus from 13 to 26 to 40 to 43, and out of that dream that you marched for, we made a president of the United States. And so, I would just like to close in saying that it wasn't a crystal stare that we had when we were 13, but that obligation that we knew that we had to protect the interests. There's no black legislation that we have. It's for poor folks. Poor white folks in the South, poor black folks, but anyone in this country, for whatever reason, had bypassed. And the people who are not here today, I'd just like to say that George Collins, when we lost him in a plane accident, he was replaced by a leader of the Congressional Caucus, Congresswoman Collins. I always like to include Carl Stokes because those brothers were inseparable for reasons that only Luther can talk about. But there's no question that Carl, but he was the congressman at times. Ralph Metcalf, what a story we have. Ralph, when he was a part of the Daily Machine until he complained about his son being moved by the cops, and they dropped him, but we put him what? We put him right back. And it was our Congressional Black Caucus that did it. Bob Nix, Sr. and Charlie Diggs, please don't let anyone leave here without remembering Charlie Diggs. Charlie Diggs talked about African being African long before we accepted it as a people. From color to Negro to African American, Charlie Diggs was really pioneered to end apartheid, and anything I and the Congressional Black Caucus has done, it was the dreams that Charlie Diggs had, and he was our first chairman of the 13 members. And Shirley Chisholm. Hey, Shirley Chisholm. Shirley, so much how much I really love her. But we work about that lady. Shirley was so bad. And she gave the green open so that our present president would run and not have to be the first. Shirley Chisholm was out there. That is Shirley Chisholm of New York. Gus Hawkins. Oh my God, California, a great guy, and it took a great woman to try to fill that seat. She's done so well with Maxine Waters, who I know is here. But Gus told me she was coming, but he didn't describe how fired and excited she would be. And so, let me say this, that as our country has so much to do, not only internationally, because there are people who really believe that we have an obligation that goes beyond just being American, but we have to each and every American to make certain that dreaming is no longer just a part of those that came here in slavery or by homes. We who have been fortunate enough to represent in the United States Congress must insist that whether Republican or Democrat, whether black or white, Jew or Gentile, that Constitution belongs to us. And we have to protect that Constitution because it's those that follow us that will be having ceremonies like this. And thanking you in the audience for supporting us. Thanking those that will be before the Congressional Black Caucus and us. But most important, this great row of colors that we have in this fantastic 42 members, that we don't even have to do anything except walk on the floor of the House of Representatives. And people know the Congress has returned to that.